Good evening. I think we are live. Welcome back to the Bremner Square Podcast with myself, Johnny Chick, and Adam Henderson with me. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm good, Johnny. Yeah, I'm feeling good, but obviously deadline day, not so much great, but yeah, all good other than that. So yeah.
I was gonna say in the corner of your screen, it will say like Deadline Day Live. I've sort of had the technical difficulties of removing said banner, but we are talking about the transfers or lack of transfers at Ellen Road. We haven't got the Bremner Square in the background as well. We've got the Mango default background on our streaming service because I can't seem to find it, but it should be back. We are live on Leeds TV, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So put any comments in, any thoughts on the January transfer window, and as I said, any thoughts of the players that we didn't sign, because Adam, we sort of grew into the transfer window thinking that we needed players. I mean, I don't know about you, but like the thought of going into that transfer window saying, oh, by the way, we're going to come out of it with no one is it's a bit weird to think we've actually done that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I know they have tried to sign, like at least one player, but it just seems very bit lackluster. And I mean, I don't know how Bielsa was feeling. I mean, whether he's still quite happy with what he's got, but yeah, it was just everyone else was signing players, and then we just sort of weren't doing anything. So it was just a bit of a strange one, but yeah, I don't know what to really make of it. It was just sort of shock more than anything,
Yeah, I think it was the thing is, it was like Bournemouth on deadline day signed about 5 players, I
Yeah.
think. Like Cantwell was one of them, who I've seen on various Twitter pages linked to Leeds. Speaking of Twitter pages, I did actually write this down. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, there was like a Liverpool account that I don't know how many followers it had, but it was like, are interested in Calvin Phillips for like a like. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a ridiculously small sum of money. It was like, I think someone like replied back like, Leeds are interested in like Mo Salah for like £20 million. Like, it was so those sort of Twitter accounts. I do see them. I'm like, oh, are we in danger? And then you click on it's like followers 2, following 10. It's that one might not be true. That might not be true. But I mean, just the lack of transfers. I mean, the fact is we haven't signed anyone. This is the squad that will see us through to the end of the season. Are you okay with that? I guess. Are you confident with the squad?
I mean, I think at first, like when it ended, and well, when it got close to the end of the window, I was a bit sort of, I was a bit annoyed. But I think I've read on Twitter that somebody said we do have 8 players coming back. So like, I see that. Okay, well that is actually a benefit, and it will make us better having those 8 back. I think because we're slim picking really at the moment. Our squad is quite wafer thin, so it's we're all going to get a bit frustrated. But yeah, I think I mean, I don't know who put it out there, but that tweet kind of calmed me down a bit. I was like, okay, well, fair enough. We do have 8 people on the way back, so there's some positives.
I mean, you mentioned before about would Bielsa be happy with it, and I like to find any sort of hint that he might be staying another season. I know obviously they're going to try and build the squad around him for the rest of the season, but the fact like was it Phil Hay? Did Phil Hay report the Winks and Van der Beek thing?
Yeah,
I don't want to put it all on him. It wasn't him.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know if it was yesterday, but yeah, I just saw Phil Hay just say about it, and that we were offered the chance and Leeds didn't pursue it. So, I mean, I don't know if that is kind of a benefit in a way that we didn't go for like maybe Van der Beek, because it's you come to Bielsa, you've got to get fit, and some players will struggle. And you don't want to send him back to Manchester United where he could just become this unreal player. So I mean, I did hear about that, and yes, I mean, I would have liked Winks. I mean, I think Winks would have been all right, but yeah, I'm not too fussed about Van der Beek, but Winks I think could have been an interesting one.
That's interesting. You favour Winks. Do you think he's devil's advocate kind of? Is he? I mean, what? I don't know if he knows where his best position is, but is he a bit more of like a Forshaw kind of number 8. Was he?
Yeah, I think he's got kind of similar kind of agility to Forshaw. You know, I mean, Forshaw is quite agile. I think he can sort of ping a pass sort of in ways you wouldn't expect it. Like he's quite agile on the ball, and I think Winks is quite similar. Maybe a bit stockier. He's got a kind of more of a defensive midfielder about him, but yeah, I think. I just think Winks probably would have suited it better, really. Not that Van der Beek, you know, obviously has been a fantastic player, probably not so in recent, you know, a couple of years, but I think Winks just would have suited it better. That's just my opinion, but yeah.
Yeah, Winks kind of like reeks of that player under Bielsa that comes to Leeds that everyone thinks, oh, he's not very good, writing him off, and then X amount of seasons later under Bielsa, he's like massively improved, and he's like England captain, and it's like that sort of journey. I mean, whether that would happen to Harry Winks, I'm not too sure, but I guess does this give you hope that Bielsa's not going to want players this for the next X amount of months until potentially the end of the season if he is to leave at the end of the season? But do you think Radrizzani or Kinnear or Orta would have gone, actually, after you've gone, we still might want these sorts of players, and they could have got the deal over the line themselves? I'm just trying to find hope that Bielsa is staying, basically. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I mean, I think you're always trying to find little tidbits.
I know, I'm trying to find the little pieces of sort of gold that's like, oh, yeah, he's going to be staying.
Yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't mean too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look probably sort of maybe beyond the like the transfers, if you like, and maybe look at how he's still redeveloping the training ground and stuff. Like there's still work going on there. Like it's not fully finished. I mean, is that he still wants to continue his work? He's completely done over Thorpe Arch, you know, and like I mean, I know he's done similar, like, you know, Newells and stuff, but I think. I think he's happy though, like, you know what I mean. I think he's he likes living in, you know, whatever, like Wetherby, and I think he really enjoys it. So like they're the kind of things I look at, but I can kind of see with transfers, like, you know, is he just gonna just leave it and I'll just stick with what I got? So
yeah, I think that is probably one of the most important transfers that we can do in the summer is keep Bielsa, and it's a question that's just going to get chucked around on social media, all various podcasts. Is he staying? Is he staying? I don't know sort of what point I know this isn't to do with the transfer, but what point we sort of find out if he is staying. Do you know what I mean? Like what is our last game? Is it Brentford away? He's just going to, in the pre-match press conference, just go, by the way, this is my last game, and then drops the mic, and that's it. Like that is, it's very Bielsa. It's very Bielsa to do that sort of thing. I don't know what. Obviously, I hope he doesn't leave, but I don't know what sort of manner. Can you imagine going?
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, he's unpredictable, and I think if he feels it's the time, he won't probably think twice. He'll just go, I need to go. I mean. I think he would assist the club in maybe finding a replacement if he did go. He has been here. This is his longest spell at a football club, so that's nice. I think there is an affection, and I think he won't just sort of pack his bags and go, "You just sort it out." Like, I think he would assist, but I mean, but he wouldn't put it past him though, just to go at the Brentford game. Yeah.
By the way,
see you later.
By the way, I'm off. You've got Paul Heckingbottom coming back. You lot, and I'm off. I do think, like, I don't like to think about when he leaves, and hopefully he never leaves. But it's just looking at the array of managers out there. I like to think he's got us to a place where now we can look for a lot more high scale managers than Paul Heckingbottom, who did well for a bit at Barnsley. And I like to think if Everton are sort of bringing in the Ancelottis and Benitez's and, well, Frank Lampard now, but they've sort of declined with those sort of the talent of their managers. But like they're no better footballing wise than us, and they're attracting those sorts of managers. So I guess, like you say, assisting to help us find a new one. I mean, I'm talking about this. He hasn't left. He could stay for another. He could stay for another couple of years. But I think it was sort of like, he'll give the. I think the question was, would he give after the 18-19 season another go? And he obviously did. took us to the promised land, got us promoted. Then he was obviously going to have one go in the Premier League, and now wants to do it with fans in the ground. But it's like, at what point does he feel he can't take the squad any further? But the most important thing is try and keep Bielsa. And we've also kept our most prized assets. And it surprised me with this transfer window when Calvin Phillips and Rafinha are getting bids for £50 million from. Who did West Ham think that they are? Jack Harrison scored a hat-trick against them and we won 3-2. So we should be looking at Jared Bowen for £50 million in the way that I look at it. But I mean, if they were to have gone in the last couple of days of the deadline, that would have left us in some ridiculous position, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean that would have been massive holes, and that would have just it would have been just leaks all over the place. But I mean, I think what can you even do at that late? I know you got a lot of money, but if you think how much identifying they did with Rafinha. And how much work they put into that deal, and they watched him thoroughly.
Yeah, exactly.
If we were to get rid of Rafinha, we can't surely find someone who is at this point in the season a similar type of player who's that good. It felt a bit cheeky from West Ham.
It did. It had that feeling, didn't it? Of like, why do you? Why do you feel the need? What's the point?
It felt kind of a bit disrespectful, to be honest. I was like, you're gonna have to pay way more than that if you want those two. You're gonna.
How much do you value them at?
Well, I mean, I'd say Rafinha definitely, in my opinion, like 80 to 90 million bracket. I think, and then Phillips just below that, maybe like 70 to 80. But I think you're gonna have to pay. It's a lot of money.
Didn't they want was it 100 or 200 million for Declan Rice?
Yeah,
and they're coming in with 50 million for Calvin Phillips, who I think is worse than Declan Rice, but not like a quarter worse than him. Surely, it's ridiculous.
No. I don't know how you can put 200 million on Declan Rice and then have two Leeds players go for 50 million each. It was just like. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But it just, they must have laughed when they received those bids. I mean, they must have gone, what are you doing? Like, who do you take this for?
For which leg? Like, really, which leg of the player are you buying for? I mean, how much should we be commending the club for rejecting those offers? Is it a case of, well done, we haven't sold him? Or is it, I mean, if they'd have even listened to them, it's a bit stupid, isn't it? Like, how much we recommended them for keeping them here?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see that they are rejecting bids like that, because I think once upon a time we probably would have accepted that and just gone, that's fine. And then, and then we're in a real big predicament. But I think it's really great from the board to reject that. I mean, not that it was really a good offer anyway, but it is great to see that. And I think obviously we definitely need to keep those kind of players. It will be tough, don't get me wrong, but I think this season obviously it has been tough with injuries, but I think that it's next season in mind. I mean, there's pushing on and trying to have a go at the top half. You know what I mean? So I think it was great that they rejected that, and it shows you how far we've come in my opinion. So
yeah. Do you think if they, say, I don't know if West Ham, I imagine West Ham probably could have afforded it, but say like a Liverpool came in on deadline day, 70, 80 million for Rafinha. Or no, you value 70, 80 million for Calvin Phillips. And they were like, look, I mean, I don't know what, I would still want them to reject it because simply there was a day left of the window. I wonder how much the club are, I agree, 50 million is completely too low, but I wonder how much the club are thinking, well, if you'd have done this a bit earlier with that much more money, I still like to think they wouldn't have budged.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you'd hope so. That no matter what the bid was, that they go, well, it's just not the right time to do that. I mean, we can't, sell a player who has such an important role in the team. At this point, it just logically doesn't make sense. But I think. I mean, if they did accept something, I think it's got to be over for Rafinha, like 100 million, I'd say.
I was going to say, especially that late on as well, in the middle of such a crucial season where we could still go down. I'd like to think we wouldn't, but we still could.
Yeah, I think it has got to be a ridiculous bid. I think, for them to even go, okay, that we'll have to try and get something done, and then we'll have to find players. But yeah, it just a really weird time to do something like that. I know West Ham were bidding for. I saw it on like Sky Sports that they were bidding for, like when they had the Rafinha and Calvin Phillips bid rejected, they were bidding for players in the similar positions from other clubs, and it was
Blimey.
sort of just like a bit of a almost desperation. I don't know what. I mean, I don't think they're really that light on those areas, but I don't know.
I was speaking to one of my mates who was a West Ham fan who was telling me that if we don't get him now, we're going to get him in the summer. That kind of stuff. I was like, calm down. I don't know where their stance is, because Declan Rice, I think, is better than Calvin Phillips. They like to play obviously with Souček as well, who a bit harder to compare. Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips together were great at the Euros, so I can sort of understand that. But it's like they've got Benrahma and Bowen, who I obviously still think Rafinha is better, but I mean, Bowen's been very good this season. But like, they've got strength in those areas. My mate, who's a West Ham fan, was saying those aren't the areas they need. They need to be looking at like a striker and a left back, and he said, and like there are other areas of the pitch, and I don't know whether. And this isn't a West Ham podcast, but is it a hint that Declan Rice could potentially be on his way out in the summer? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they probably want to get Champions League. I mean, or some form of European football. But I think, see a player like Declan Rice and how good he is, you think he'd be playing at like, definitely a team that is going to get Champions League football. I mean, it's similar to, maybe even like, Rafinha and Phillips.
I was going to say, it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have to push on, because not that time's running out, but we have to consider, what we want to get out of, especially next season, because there will be a time where, I mean, those players, they're still going to improve. They're still developing. And similar to Rice, he's just going to develop into a beast of a player. And, I think, a bid from a Champions League club in Europe, I think it's going to be half for him and half for West Ham. So
of course. I was speaking to my dad earlier on in the week, and I was saying we've sort of spoken about. I think Leeds fans sort of think about, look, if we were to go down, Rafinha and Calvin Phillips, as much as Phillips and Rafinha both love the club, I wouldn't blame them if they were to go, look, I'm a bit better than playing at Rotherham Stadium every week. Do you know what I mean? Like, I should be playing at a bit of a higher level. No offense at Rotherham, very good club, very good club. The first club that came to mind, really, don't take it personally. I was then thinking, look, if Bielsa stays and we stay up, I like to think the club will do all they can to bat off bids from other clubs in the summer for Rafinha and Phillips. If Bielsa goes, but we stay up, and they bring in a manager who is a bit like, it's all right. But do you think Phillips and Rafinha would want to stay? I think Phillips' loyalty, because his home, it's his boy club. I think there's a bit more in that. And I think Rafinha actually loved the club and the whole city as well. But there's no Bielsa, but you're in the Premier League. I don't know where the balance is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Bielsa was to leave, they definitely need a name to come in. I think, to even consider. You don't want to just like a manager who comes in and it, like, just for an example, say it was like Roy Hodgson. Not that Roy's a good guy, but you know what I mean? Like, you see Bielsa and Roy Hodgson, it's just a massive kind of drop. It's like, but you need, I think, Leeds as a club, I mean, they're a massive football club, but what Bielsa has done, he's sort of brought the reputation has sort of exploded, worldwide, and there's got to be people like managers who will look at that and go, when Bielsa goes, I'd love to do that. And if they're a quality manager, I think that'd be great. But yeah, I think if we did get someone a bit, like Blur, like we would have to. It wouldn't surprise me if Phillips and Rafinha were a bit like,
I know, yeah.
Exactly. And then you probably then got bids coming in from, top 4 clubs or whatever, from around the world or Europe. It's just going to be really hard to keep.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just I I know they're in talks with Rafinha to signing a new contract. That's sort of been reported everywhere, and I get the fact it's like, well, if he signs it and he goes in the summer or the next January, we'll still be able to get a massive bumper price for him. Like, I get that. I just still like to think he would stay, and I like to think the signing of a new contract is he wants to stay rather than, look, we're giving you a new contract because we want a lot more money for you in the summer or the next time around. But it's just, hey ho, that is for the summer, and thankfully we will be seeing Phillips, well, whenever he gets back to playing football, and Rafinha at least, and Bielsa at least until the summer, and hopefully for a lot longer than that. But if we can't talk about Leeds United business, I thought we should maybe delve into the other clubs around us, because like I said, as much as I don't like to bring up the R word, we are not mathematically safe yet, which is safe to say. And the Newcastle loss, I just think, brought everyone's we were so high after the West Ham game. It was such two polar opposite Leeds United performances. The business of Newcastle, they brought in quite a few players. Burnley sold Wood, got in Weghorst, and I think they're meant to potentially go in for Orsic, but I think that deal fell through. He signed a new contract. But Newcastle, I've seen a lot of people now saying, oh, they might stay up. I mean, what do you make of the business of the teams around us?
Yeah, I think they've done well. I mean, Burnley to get, someone like Weghorst in, I think he's a good player, similar type of player to Wood. I think, very good, fit that Burnley system, I think, really, really well. Newcastle, I mean, I think they've done fantastically well. I mean, obviously they've got the power to do that now. So, they can go and get those kind of players. I mean, it is some very good business. I didn't really see what Norwich or Watford did.
I don't think Norwich or Watford have done too much. Obviously, Watford did actually bring in Roy Hodgson, didn't they? So hopefully he won't be at Leeds in the summer if he does a decent job with Watford. But I think it is even Everton are below us in the table at the moment, or similar sort of points range, and they've brought in your Van der Beeks, your Dele Allis, and I mean, what do you make to those sorts of signings?
Well, I think it's going to assist, Frank really well at Everton. I think, the way he kind of plays. I mean, they're the kind of players I think that could thrive playing under Frank. I mean, obviously he's got quite a young energy. He's a young manager, really. So I'm sure he'll bring the best out in them. I mean, obviously he might not, and I hope. they have terrible seasons.
Covered all bases with that one. They might do well, won't they? They also might not.
So hopefully they don't suddenly kick on and they've got two absolute world beaters. That we probably know that they can be. But I think just going back to what I said at the start. I think when we get our crop of players back, I think we are a heck of a team to come up against. And I mean, I think we do really well, especially the West Ham game. A team that it's completely sort of, different all over the pitch, people playing out of position. I think we did really well. So that shows you what we can do. Newcastle, not so much great, but
Newcastle. Although, actually, I was listening to, I think it was a Square Ball, and this is obviously, I mean, we recorded that a couple of days after. I was listening to this a week after or so, and they were sort of saying, the performance in the first half wasn't actually that bad. Dan James sticks that chance away, and a couple of the crosses actually go to a Leeds player. And we, I think it was just genuinely that second half and lack of reaction to going behind that was a bit concerning.
Yeah, I mean, if Dan James hits that, connects with that ball really well and it flies into the net, it's a completely different game. I think Leeds, especially when the crowd gets, alive and loud, it's such a hard place to play in. But it was just annoying in the first half because there was always that feeling of, God, just please come out in the second, and then they didn't, and then it just becomes an hour of frustration. But it's tough, and sometimes it's fine margins, and that's where I think you need a player like Bamford to come in, who we've relied on so heavily. I think really fits well in the Bielsa system. But it's just one of those games, and it was just frustrating.
It was. Hopefully Bamford will return at some point. It's just, I know we're going to get the press conference. I mean, I've as much as I didn't enjoy the Newcastle game, I've missed watching Leeds United, as I'm sure you do as well. And it's just, I know we're going to get that press conference, and I'm all hyped to watch us play against Villa. And it's, Bamford's still out. He's actually picked up another 2 injuries while also recovering from his current one. And he's now, we've terminated his contract. We don't need him at the club. I don't know. These press conferences have never been. It was actually before the West Ham game. So after the Newcastle game, pre-West Ham back in September. It was the first game. No, it was the second game I was going to this season. I was all looking forward to going to the game, checking Phil Hayes' press conference reports. It was Bamford's out. I think Ayling was out as well. And since then, I've never enjoyed a Bielsa press conference.
Yeah.
I like just hearing the team news. It's almost a bit I don't know. They're just not enjoyable, are they?
He's saying what you don't want to hear, and it's annoying.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating. I know. Please don't say that.
Yeah, I know. It's well, at least Shackleton's all right. Yeah, Shackleton's as well. Oh, no, fair enough. Cool, that's fine. I mean, we should have, like you say, Firpo and Forshaw coming back. But I do really agree with what you say. I really do agree with it that perspective is so key when you look at who we've got out and when they come back. Like this squad, we've added Dan James and Firpo. Lost, yes, a couple of players. We've added that to a squad that finished 9th last season. Let's not forget. And we really have been hit with injuries. I think this is out of any club, not just following Leeds, the worst injury crisis I've seen at any club. So the perspective is so key here. And I think, yes, we are not mathematically safe, but I do think we will be okay.
Yeah. And
if we just tick along into next season, players don't get injured, they stop punching each other in training and dislocating their ankles and elbows and all that stuff. Hopefully, if this doesn't continue, we should be fine.
Yeah,
I think. I don't know about yourself.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's just please just go easy in training. I mean, I know that's not an option with Bielsa. It has to be full pelt. But
do you think it is down to do with his methods of training?
I don't know, because he has been here, over 3 years, and it's like a lot of those players, it's not that dissimilar from the Championship squad, but so you think they'd be all right, by now. I mean, but I don't know if it's just it's just unlucky stuff that's going on. Player might put a foot wrong and they go over on their ankle, or they, a challenge might just come in a bit too hard, and they might have been okay. Yeah. It's as I say, it's fine margins, but I think obviously when a lot of them have happened in training, people are getting frustrated. It's can't we just go easy? But it's not an option for Bielsa. So
no, it's not. I do agree, because we've got a couple of previous seasons to look back at the data of the players who have played. Ben White played every minute of our promotion season. Click didn't stop playing until he was too drunk to play at Derby. And I mean, Click is, I think, immune to injuries. I mean, if he does pull up with a hamstring injury, the game against Aston Villa, fully blame me. But I don't know. I mean, Harrison's never injured, but Bamford, we sort of, in that first season, was in and out with injuries. I don't know if you know what you're getting with Bamford. And that's what I get told by my mate who I don't think this is stupid, actually. And I'll get your take on it. Before, when Ronaldo signed for Manchester United, or Man United fans, he's back, oh, great. So I tweeted out, Bamford's going to outscore Ronaldo. Bit of satire, a couple of likes, a couple of digs from Manchester United fan, that's fine. My Man United mate replied, £20 then. £20 of Bamford outscores Ronaldo. And it's if Ronaldo outscores Bamford, 20 quid to him. Now, by the looks of Bamford's injury record and the goal scoring stats this season, I will be £20 less come May. But if Bamford was fit and has played the same amount of games with Ronaldo, I do still think he potentially outscored him. I don't know. Was it a stupid bet?
I don't think so, actually, because if you look at Leeds' shot conversion rate, they actually have quite a high percentage of shot conversion. And I mean, there's always chances. There's always going to be chances. It doesn't matter who it's against. I was doing this just in the league as well, not Champions League and all that stuff. I think is Rafinha outscoring Ronaldo at the moment? He must. I'm pretty sure he's got to be, surely. I mean,
have a look.
He's got to be, surely.
In the Premier League, he's on 8 goals, Ronaldo. I think Rafinha's on 8 as well, I think. I think. Just a quick. He's on 8 goals as well. So, I mean, if Rafinha's like keeping up with him, Bamford's our main striker who got 17 goals last season. It really annoys me the fact that if he was still fit for the rest of the season, I'd have been able to go back to that tweet and be like, well, I told you so. But unfortunately, he's just decided to get injured since the Newcastle game in September. Come on for a quick cameo against Brentford just to realise what playing football is like, and then back into the injury room again. Yeah. So frustrating. Anyway, the injury chat we do every week, it's, there it is. It's been and gone. But we will look ahead to our next game. It's Aston Villa on a Wednesday night, and they're making us wait just that little bit more until we can watch Leeds United play. Not this full 2-week break, 2.5-week break, because why do that? The Premier League winter break, the fact we've got to do this every year now. No one told me when I signed up for this whole Premier League football thing. Like the last international break in, what was it, like November, December, October? And they were like, no international break until March. That means I expect us to play every week until March. Yeah. But no, and with game postponements, it felt like we really haven't played recently, does it?
No, it's really quiet. I mean, I really am not a fan of it. I know breaks help.
Of course.
But I just think I just love football. I want to watch football.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's nice. Obviously, you can watch like Championship and like League One stuff. Like that's cool. I enjoy that. But I just want to see Leeds. I love Leeds, and I just want to watch it. So
Yeah, exactly. Good. I can tell you like football. I'm a very big fan of the goal. Is that the goalkeeper shirt?
Yeah,
I like that.
Shirt. Yeah.
Is that this? Is it this season? Last season's one?
I think it's last season's. Yeah, last.
Nice, very nice number. But it's like this sort of aqua blue on the sort of collar. No, very nice. Very nice. Worn by Adam Henderson and Ilian Melia. There you are. But Aston Villa. They've improved quite a bit in their sides during January. One of the clubs who probably had one of the best transfer windows. I mean, look, they've signed players who have also played in January. Coutinho scored and assisted against Man United.
Yeah.
Digne assisted in their win against Everton. It's not the same sort of prospect of playing them as it was Dean Smith's Aston Villa at the start of the season, is it?
Yeah, there's definitely an energy about them. I think you can feel that even when they play Man United like twice in a row. Like they look good on the ball. Like even though that I know Man U won one of the games, but it just felt, even though there was still something about them. I think Gerrard, it's similar to Frank, even though I think Gerrard has a more interesting style. But I think there's just a real liveliness about them, and I think Gerrard, he's got a cockiness and a bit of an awiness about him.
Those walks past like the Everton fans and the Man United fans in those games, you can tell he really relishes it, can't you?
Yeah. I think that transmits to the players, and I think that you see some really energetic players who probably, like Coutinho, has had it really tough over there. At Barcelona. I think he's come here and he just looks refreshed, and he looks like the player he once was, which is frightening. I mean, because he's probably considered at one point one of the best, attacking midfielders in the world. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that they are good, but you have to wait and see until they come up against a Bielsa team, because it is an amazing, hard experience. Not amazing, but it will be really tough for them. Yeah.
It will, and we haven't played them this season because our early one got postponed because of COVID. So we don't really have anything to judge them off, really, apart from what we've seen. And they really have been hit with the definition of a new manager bounce. But I did just check the table. They are in 11th place, and they've done very well since Gerrard's come in. But they are only 4 points ahead of us. And we've both played 21 games, so there's no games in hand. But if we win, we close the gap on them 1 point. And again, it's that whole thing of perspective. This new manager bounce, great signing, Steven Gerrard, Aston Villa side, could only be 1 point ahead of Leeds United's Marcelo Bielsa, who people on TalkSport are saying should be sacked and stuff. And we're not doing too bad actually with the circumstances, are we? And is this a bigger achievement potentially to last season with the squad that we have available at the moment?
I still think this is a good achievement, just because it has just been a horrible injury hit season. So I think how we're coping, I think we're doing very well. And And yeah, I mean, as I said, when those players come back, I think we're a match for anyone. It doesn't really, it doesn't matter who we're up against. I mean, but yeah, I still think Bielsa's done for a fantastic achievement with what he's had to deal with, and even now with a quiet January. I still think he'll come good, and I still think we'll have those games where it'll be tough, but I always back Leeds to do well because they are such a. I mean, you heard what like Declan Rice said. How Leeds were like. They are one of the hardest teams.
Did he say it was like the toughest to play against? Or
yeah,
like
he said they're the toughest team to play against. He said I don't think people understand until you're on the pitch how hard it actually is. And I think that sums up Bielsa to a team really, and how he wants his team to play and this Leeds side. So, yeah, I mean, I think we can be really proud. I mean, I really hate the people saying sack him. I don't like that. I mean, that's
the only way for me that he goes is if he goes himself. Like he says, "Look, lads, I'm off." Like I even think if we were like bottom now, I still wouldn't want him sacked.
I mean, I think what he's done at Leeds, it's been revolutionary. I mean, we were in the wilderness of like the League One Championship for over 15 years, and then when he comes in, we immediately saw change, and we immediately saw Leeds pushing on. So yeah, I don't think until he wants to go, then we'll find someone else. So I don't agree with sacking him at all. It's when he wants to go, really. So.
It's when you mentioned like we're in the wilderness. I was just thinking of like the previous seasons we had before him, and I can remember when we got promoted in 2010. I'd been to one game by then. I think I really was like 9 years old. I really wasn't into my football, and like my dad said, "Oh, Leeds got promoted." Like 'cause he was obviously a fan then still, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, great." And I was like, "Well, it's one off the Premier League, isn't it?" And my dad was like, I still remember. He was like, "The Championship is not as easy as it seems."
Yeah.
And yes, you're one division off. He was like, "I won't surprise me if we take a long time to get out of there."
Yeah.
It took a hell of a long time to get out there. But like you say, Bielsa's man who took us up completely changed the club, changed players' lives. Like Calvin Phillips could have gone instead of Ronaldo Vieira, and I don't think any of us would have batted an eyelid. And it is quite phenomenal. And I think these podcasts are great. It gives you that sense of perspective and realization that actually things aren't all too bad. But Aston Villa, look, like we said, Coutinho, Jacob Ramsey, I think is a very, very good young player. I still think Tyrone Mings has a massive mistake in him. Like in a game, I'm not too confident. I don't know how confident Aston Villa fans are in him, but like we saw against Man United, Emi Martinez, who has been very good, sort of had that mistake, and there are flaws there. I guess. I mean, I was looking at their recent results, Adam, and I don't know when. Do you remember when about Gerrard came in? Because they beat Everton, obviously, drew to Manchester United, but they've lost to Brentford, lost to Chelsea, lost to Liverpool. I mean, lost to City. Like they're losing to the good teams who are up there in the table. But there is a way we can get them here, isn't there?
Oh yeah, more so. I mean, I think there are flaws in that team. I mean, I live in my flat at uni with a Villa fan.
Oh right,
I mean, absolutely does not rate Mings. He said,
right.
he's there's probably a mistake every game. Something it's usually something that will either lead to a goal or lead to a big chance. So I think there is definite flaws in that side. I mean, there's flaws in all sides, but I think that team. It is a new manager. They are still probably trying to get used to the system. So I think we can give it a real good go. I don't see us as we're really big underdogs here. I think we can go there and. When Villa Park, it can get nervy. Similar to Ellen Road, when it can, things don't go well. The crowd
two similar sides of club sizes and sort of fan bases, aren't we?
Yeah. So, it's like Newcastle. I'm sure they knew that Ellen Road it's going to be tough, but there is always a chance that the crowd can really transmit some, some not great language to the players, but. So I think, why not? I mean, they are a good team, don't get me wrong, but we're a good team. I know we don't have the full crop of players, but, we've seen it against teams without the core group that we can give anyone a run for their money. So,
well, I mean, Bielsa hasn't lost at Villa Park as a Leeds manager and has had we've had some great games under him, but two of the most fantastic games, polar opposites completely. I mean, the game when Bamford got his hat trick last season at Villa Park, we weren't as. I mean, 3-0. I think flattered us is the right way of saying it, but I don't think we deserved 3. Like, they were sort of all over us in the first half. But that Bamford hat trick is so monumental from last season, so memorable. But 2018-19, last game before Christmas, 2-0 down, Kamaru 95th minute winner. I'll happily reminisce for a whole podcast on this game. It was so good, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I watched it on TV. I'd love to have gone to the game. I mean, that would have been phenomenal. But it was just beautiful. When you could feel it was coming. When the first one went in, when the second, and then the third went in, it was just absolute limbs. I'm sure in the away end, and especially in my house, it was just crazy. So,
big limbs in the Henderson household. We've had a comment in from Martin, who has said, it does take a long time to get out of the Championship, and it will take a long time to establish ourselves in the Premier League. It's a horribly brutal and unforgiving league. Bielsa's method is humanistic. I mean, I completely agree. You've got to remember, Sheffield United thought they'd established themselves in the Premier League, went straight down the next season. Norwich and Fulham can never seem to establish themselves in the Premier League before they even get the chance to. So, like you said, like Martin says, would you say Crystal Palace are established in the Premier League? Because I don't compare us to them in our position right now, but they've been in there for a long time. And yes, they haven't done anything. Like, this season's probably the best they've had in a while, but they are reasonably established, keeping yourselves afloat and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Palace are a good example. I think they have established themselves, similar to, Burnley. I mean, I know they're not having a great time, but teams like that, they have established. But I think when you get out of the Championship, it is so tough to just even stay up for that first thing. I think Leeds have done really well there. But the Championship, I think it can really destroy a club's mindset. I think because it is just, it's a brilliant league, but it's just horrendous. If you support a club in it, I think you can appreciate it, but I think it's teams like Sunderland, they've really just, I mean, they even got relegated. Big clubs like that, and I think Stoke, Bielsa's first ever game at Elland Road, and I think Gary Rowett was the manager, and they were so confident.
They were, weren't they? Well, they said check the Calvin Phillips in the EFL pre-launch thing, where he's he said check the odds of
check the bookies odds,
something like that. So confident.
And then Leeds beat a very very experienced side 3-1, and it was brilliant. I was lucky to be there, but
were you?
I went to it.
What was that like? Go on, talk us. What was that like that day?
It was just. I mean, I've been to Leeds a lot, and especially when they were in League One, I remember going to see Leeds on some horrendous nights. Teams, coming to to Elland Road and just absolutely having it their way. It was really odd. But then, when Bielsa arrived, I was like, God, this feels. There's just a magical feeling about it. It was just great, really lovely day. And then I think it was just that opening minutes. You could just tell there was just something.
You could tell the press and the switch on from there, can't you?
Yeah, the energy went fever pitch. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I still remember I was on holiday watching it abroad, and it was I remember he started with Alioski, Hernandez, Saiz, what sort of failed under Christensen and Heckingbottom. I remember saying he's gonna find out sooner or later that you can't be doing that in this league. You need to have physical players, and you need those sort of players. You can't go to Millwall away with those three. I mean, it still turns out you still can't go to Millwall away because we always lose there. But I was so So like, oh, he's going to find out you need some big men in that midfield. I was such a Lewis Baker advocate as well. And look at him tearing it up for Stoke City now. Glad he got his career back on track. Martin also said it's so refreshing to have a manager who treats players like people and has an intent on building a team as opposed to assembling a hedge fund. I mean, yeah, the whole atmosphere around the club, as well as doing well on the pitch, it's so much more enjoyable, like you say, going to Ellen Road and seen some awful performances. I've travelled all the way from Kent on the train. I mean, that's not as far as a lot of people go. Like people fly and stuff. I'm not trying to make it out. I'm a great fan. From Kent on the train all the way up to Leeds to watch us go 3-0 down to Cardiff in the 17-18 season, which was Christensen's last game, I think. The best bit was Sol Bamba scoring an own goal against his old club. Like the fact, I mean, I was lucky enough actually yesterday to get on and get tickets for the Manchester United game coming up in a couple of weeks. And it's those sorts of games where it's like, look where we were before and now look what we're looking ahead to. It's that game's going to be ridiculous. If we can just avoid a 6-2, 5-1 battering, we might stand a bit of a chance. But that podcast is for another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Aston Villa. As far as Aston Villa go, like we say, they've done, Gerrard has done reasonably well with them. But like we said, we're 1 point off them. Let's get some score predictions because, like you said, confidence. Forshaw's back. I know we're not too sure, but should be back. Firpo hopefully should be back.
Yeah.
Let's go into a press conference being happy that we might get news that Bamford's back and that no one else is injured, and Shackleton might be. We just don't know.
Yeah. Score
prediction, Adam. Go on, hit us with one.
I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds. Yeah.
2-1 Leeds. I was tempted to say another player is going to get a hat trick, like a Tyler Roberts hat trick. A Tyler Roberts hat trick would. I don't think I'd love nothing more than that, to be honest. Knee slide in front of the whole end, limbs in the away end in the second half. Tyler Roberts is back on track. Let's get that sort of positivity. 3-0 and someone scores a hat trick. That's my prediction. Prediction. I mean, I'll take a 1-0, but yeah, something like that 18-19 roof winner. And I still love that ball from Alioski over the top that is going out of play. And El Mohammadi has no reason to put it back to Kamaru. But does he? Of course he does. I just brilliant times. I wanted to actually finish off actually with a bit more of the transfer stuff. I've seen someone's put an emoji on Facebook, put the sad emoji, and it's obviously sort of titled deadline stuff and transfer talk, and they're obviously not too happy with the transfer business. Somerville looked like he could have been on his way out at some point. Minamino looked like he could have been on his way in at some point, but Somerville stays. Minamino stays at Liverpool. It seems like Bielsa obviously prefers Somerville to Minamino, which I don't know if I'd take offence if I'm Minamino. Some kid who's played about 20 minutes of Premier League football is already deemed to be better than him. But where do you stand with those sorts of transfers?
I'd love to see Bielsa's mind, how he thinks. Things. I mean, you look at a player like Minamino.
It's a praise to Somerville, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I know he wanted to go to get game time, and I was like, Bielsa is begging you to stay. It's like, I mean, what more do you want from a player, from a manager? I mean, I think that's the ultimate praise you can get, really. So, I mean, I'm not too fussed about Minamino. I mean, he's good. I'm not knocking him, and he would be awesome to have. But I'm happy with Somerville. I think he comes on and he does do a job. I think he's learning, and I think there's a recipe for a great player there.
There certainly is, and it's a shame with how the Cody Drammer situation sort of ended. We touched on it a bit a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs on the transfer, but I'm sort of thinking, look, when everyone's fit, he's behind Ayling at right back. He's behind Shackleton at right back. I think he's probably behind Dallas at right back as well. Like he's at least fourth choice right back, and I think he is still very young player, but he's now starting for Cardiff in the Championship. Yeah, under Steve Morrison. So Morrison Bielsa is a bit different, but it's probably better for his career, is it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a good league to go to. Championship. You're going to learn a heck of a lot. I can see positives with it, but I can also see. I mean, I heard like there was a few like maybe he fell out with Bielsa. So
it did seem like Bielsa had almost taken it too well. The sort of way he ranted and it's like dramas rent free in his head kind of thing. I don't know.
I mean, I think it could. I think it's if players don't want to play for Bielsa, then they're best off out. Really, I mean, you need players who are 100% committed. But he is a good player. He'll do well. I'm sure on loan at Cardiff. I mean, whether he ever plays for Leeds again is another thing. But I think he's a good young player. But he's got a lot of work to do, and he'll get a real good experience in the Championship because as we said, it's an unforgiving place and. They're in a heck of a situation as well. They're in a tough situation. So, he'll learn a great deal, and I think it will do his career good. So, yeah.
I think we should end on let's end on a positive note. We sold Jack Clarke to Spurs for £11 million, and he's now playing for Sunderland in League One. And that's not a knock to Sunderland, but I just think that bit of business from us might be like I think he'll thrive in that league. I mean, they did lose to Bolton 6-0 at the week, and I'm not sure whether he played or whether he'd actually signed by them. But I do think there's a good player in him. He just doesn't seem to be the same since that Middlesbrough game where he fell ill off on the bench, I think it was. But I don't know, it's such a weird one. But the £11 million is it's laughable, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it funded 2 players who are in the squad today, really. I saw a post about it. Apparently it funded...
Really?
2 players. I can't. I could be wrong, but
no. It really might have. It really might have done. Yeah, it really might. So, I mean, he was only a couple of million less than like Llorente and Robin Koch, isn't he? So
yeah. So I mean, I think it is a great bit of business. When you look at it, but it just shows you kind of when you leave Leeds, it doesn't always go well. I mean, it's it was a good opportunity for him, but I think he could have stayed at Leeds and he probably could have been. Unbelievable, So
yeah, I say it's such a weird one because obviously he got loaned back, but he did not play near enough as amount of minutes as I potentially thought he would. Obviously, we brought in Helder Costa at that point as well, but I can't help but thinking there may have been a bit of bad blood, and it was a case of look, you've left, so we're going to just not play you as much. But £11 million richer. And Jack Clarke's in Sunderland. But all the best to him. Seems like a good lad, good footballer. So, all the best to him. Sunderland and Leeds United against Aston Villa. And hopefully we'll be talking to you all about a fantastic win, a Tyler Roberts hat-trick, and a good night at Villa Park. Thank you very much, Adam, as well, for coming on as usual.
No, cheers, Johnny. Thank you.
We will...